What's up to everybody hanging out with me today on this particular corner of the internet? This is the Political Brown Kid here, and I'm revisiting my Questioning of Faith series that I kicked off about a month or so ago and never came back to it. But I'm getting back into it today, and I want to get back into it more frequently, and I want to deliver it to you in bits and chunks as opposed to just having hours upon hours of discussion on religion, because we all know that religious discussions can take hours, if not days. And today, what I want to address, or just put the thought out there for you all to respond back to, or for you to digest, ask questions, comments, whatever, is God omnibenevolent, omniscient, and omnipotent? And that means, is God all loving, all knowing, and all powerful? Because I don't know about today's religion, because today's religion is definitely backtracking off a lot of things that they've said in the past. They've said a lot in the past about, homosexuality. They've backtracked from that. And I'm not trying to say that's a good thing, bad thing. I'm just saying, my thing is, if you have a religion and this religion is supposed to withstood the test of time, and this book is supposed to be the word, and your religion is supposed to be the word, why are you backtracking and modifying it in today's times? Who gave these priests, these current priests, the authority to do so? I don't know. So then that means if you're feeding us wrong information about one thing, then we have to question your entire book. And so that's why today I want to question, or put the thought out there, is God all knowing, all loving, and all powerful? And I just want to point to a few examples of why, again, I'm questioning a faith. And I'm going to cite a few examples. I'm going to say this: I'm not a biblical scholar. So if you're a biblical scholar, or you think you are, chime in. But I'm a rational human being, and I know what I read, and I know what I've heard. So when we look at God as being all-knowing, first I want to start right off in Genesis on this point. If God is all-knowing, okay, there's the story of Adam and Eve, and of course you have some of these people in the some of these biblical people, they take the Bible literally. And then you have some people that say, oh, well, it's a metaphor. Some of the stuff in the Bible is just stories. Make your mind up. Either this stuff happened or it didn't happen. You can't have it both ways and then say that this book is the word and the word is what it is. So that's why I'm starting with Genesis, and I'm starting with a case, or the fact of, Adam and Eve in this apple, with this fruit. The tree of knowledge, the tree of life, that Adam and Eve apparently violated the covenant that they had with God, or the pact that they had with God. So once they committed this act, or once Eve convinced Adam to commit this act, to go in collaboratively commit this act, God then shows up, right? And God asks both Adam and Eve, hey, where are you? Well, if you're all knowing, wouldn't you know where they are? If you know everything, wouldn't you know where they are? So is this a rhetorical question that God is asking? Is he just asking rhetorically? And then he even asked them, why are you clothed? Or, he's asking certain questions. So my thing is, are these questions just rhetorical questions just for God to throw out there because he wants to hear the words come out of their mouth? But also, if you're all knowing, wouldn't you know the answer of where they are and what they were about to do? Or does he only know what has happened and he can't predict the future? Because also too, why would you stick them in this garden if you know and you're all knowing and you know what's going to happen? Why even go through this whole exercise of creating man if you know man is going to be this much trouble? That's all. So the other point, it's like, if you knew all of this was going to occur, if you're all knowing, why go through this whole entire exercise? You could have probably spared me the trouble of this life. But I'm just focusing right now on Adam and Eve. It's that he seems to ask, I don't know if he's asking rhetorically or not, but he's posing several questions to them. Another point, when you look at all loving, when you look at, you have to ask yourself, well, is God all loving? Because once we're staying in the Old Testament, and again, you have a lot of Christians, they have selective reasoning. They don't take, it seems like they love to live in the New Testament because, of course, the New Testament, the God is so great, or Jesus, and that Holy Trinity thing, we could talk about that another time. I don't understand how somebody can be their father and their son at the same time. And it just sounds, it doesn't even compute with me. It sounds very schizophrenic and it's very complicated. But apparently Jesus is a far more better person than the original God was. When you look at God in the Old Testament, he was a very cruel and mean God. Don't look at me, I'll kill you. You couldn't, it seemed like everything that man did ticked God off. Ticked him off to the point where he flooded the earth and killed everybody but Noah and Noah's family. Just a bunch of things that were done and a bunch of threats that were made to human beings. So you have to ask yourself, like, how loving is this God? And also the other point that I want to make here too is a lot of people, I was talking with somebody the other day and I was trying to get them to read this book. It's called The Watcher. I think it's called The Watchers. It's the book of Enoch. It's not a book in the Bible, but it's the story of Enoch when Enoch was, I guess, lifted up into heaven and lived in heaven. I don't know how many years, how many days, 60 days, 60 years, 60 days, 30 years, 30 days, some time frame. He lived up in heaven extensively, hung out with God. And God even stated, at least in the book of Enoch, it was stated that man was not what man was. He was obviously furious with man and what man had become. Because you have to understand what a lot of people fail to want to acknowledge is that the devil gave man or made man what man is today. Good and bad. Good and bad. So you have to take the good with the bad. At least in this situation. So, you got to say that, the devil was the one that gave man knowledge or helped in assisting to give man knowledge. I'd like for somebody from a biblical scholar to refute that because he did. God created man obviously to be a worker of the earth. And it is stated that in the book of Enoch. It is inferred in churches, and I do believe it is inferred in the Bible in Genesis. Man was given dominion or to oversee the earth, to work until the earth. He wasn't given, God did not sign up for man to become all knowledgeable and to start creating robots and start doing genetic gene splicing and cloning and doing all of this other stuff. And we're going to have a topic on that. But the devil gave man insight to become like God. And even God said that man is now like God. He gave man the knowledge and the insight. And obviously man has progressed over the last 2,000, 3,000 years from when that occurred, or whatever time frame that was. Because you got to remember, Adam came way before Yeshua, which Yeshua was 2,000 years ago. So you obviously have to think that Adam was probably 1,000 years before that. So it was the devil who actually gave man and made man what man is today. Nobody will give the devil props for that because once again, no one wants to give an evil person any type of props. You're never going to, Hitler's never going to get a prop. And I'm not trying to say that I like Hitler, but I'm just trying to say no one's ever going to say, damn, well, he had to be pretty smart to rise to power to get to the level that he got to. No one's ever going to say that. Well, damn, they did, that they were technologically advanced. You can't say that about an evil person. Even though Elon Musk thinks that we should be giving George Washington and Thomas Jefferson props for being a founding father, and overlooking their deficiencies as being slave traders and being brutal towards black people. So no one's going to give the devil props for giving them insight and making them like God. But when you talk about all loving, it was obviously not intended. And if you read Enoch, God is not a very happy person with man. Doesn't even really seem to like us. So think about that. And then when you look at all powerful, if God is all powerful, one phrase that I used to always hear Christians say is that God lost dominion over the earth. If you're all powerful, how do you lose dominion over an entire planet? And if you think about it, it's an insignificant planet because it's one of hundreds of billions, if not trillions of planets floating around in the universe. It's a planet that hosts life on it, human life. So that's why we consider it to be a significant ball floating around in the universe, in this part of the galaxy. But how do you lose dominion over it? That's what I'm curious to know. And to whom? Obviously, it's to the devil, so they say. So, but my thing is, how do you lose dominion over that? So these were just questions that I wanted to have answered. And I can go into more specifics about, and I can pull out the Bible and do, quotes on, God and show examples of, behavior that's not all knowing, not all loving, and not all powerful. But I want to leave that to you all to comment on and to think about and to go in and check in on the Bible. Check it out. I want you to read the Bible. Don't just read the New Testament. You can't cherry pick what you want. You can't cherry pick. And that's also too, like if you're all knowing, all loving, and all powerful, just to kind of encompass the three, how do you have a God that takes one position in the Old Testament? It's almost like there's two gods. Kind of like when you listen to the story of the Anunnaki and you listen in the story of Enlil and Enki, one of those being the one who hated man and one being the one who helped man. And it's kind of like the story when you think about the God and devil. You have one of those individuals, helping man, and one of those individuals really thinking a lot lesser about man and mankind. When you read the Old Testament, it's not a God that really loves human beings all that much. It seems like we're a tool. It seems like we've kind of pissed him off or disappointed him. And he keeps coming back periodically to kind of give us some commandments, give us some laws to live by. But it's not like he's really trying to help us out. And then it isn't until the New Testament comes along that now he's like, man, I'm going to help absolve you from your sins and I'm going to love you no matter what because I love you. So it's like, where's the shift? And if you did shift, then that means you had a change of heart. And if you had a change of heart, then that means that you felt as though your position in the past was wrong. And if that's the case, then are you all knowing, all loving, and all powerful? These are things that we have to ask. Why does it take you sending down your son, who's supposedly also you, to die on a cross and suffer in order for man's sins to be absolved? Why not just snap your fingers or blink your eyes or just think it and it is done with? Sins are absolved. So, once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. This is just something I want you all to think about, but also I want you to ask questions on it. I'll try to answer questions as best I can as I see them. Also, please leave me feedback. If you're supposed to be a Bible scholar and you got an answer for this stuff, I'd definitely like to hear it, and I'm pretty sure everyone else would like to hear it too. So once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. More to come on the topic. Peace.